You ever wonder about that? Why so many incredibly smart, driven people throw themselves into trading only to crash and burn? It's a story we've all heard, right? They do everything they're supposed to, they study, they strategize, they put in the hours, and yet something just doesn't click. They get so close, they can practically feel it, but then they hit this invisible wall and just quit. Inches from the finish line. It's one of the biggest puzzles in the market, and today we're going to take it apart piece by piece.
All right, so let's just dive right in. The massive question is why? Why do they fail? Now, you'll hear all the usual answers, like, oh, they didn't have the right strategy, or they were undercapitalized. But the truth, the real reason, is something way deeper. It's not about the charts or the money. It's a hidden internal battle that most people don't even realize they're fighting until it's way too late.
So to really understand this, we're going to map out the typical trader's journey. It breaks down into 5 key stages. We're going to start with that initial pull, the lure of quick gains. Then we'll see how the market acts as this brutal, unforgiving mirror. After that, we'll hit the big one, the great psychological filter. This is where almost everyone gets stuck. And then finally, we'll talk about the hard work of rewiring your brain for discipline and what that professional mindset actually looks and feels like when you get to the other side.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning. The lure of quick gains. This is the siren song of the markets, isn't it? It's what gets almost everyone interested in the first place. This dream of making a lot of money really fast without having to answer to anyone. And you know what? That dream is the very first trap.
And this right here is so important. The desire for fast money isn't just a motivation, it is a trap. Why? Well, because it immediately sets you up with completely unrealistic expectations. It literally wires your brain to look for shortcuts, to chase those huge lottery ticket wins, and to get incredibly angry and frustrated when the market doesn't just hand it to you. That whole mindset is the polar opposite of what it actually takes to succeed, which, believe me, is a slow, methodical, and often pretty boring process.
So this get-rich-quick thinking leads directly to what we can call the core illusion of the amateur trader, this desperate hunt for a magic bullet. People will spend months, sometimes years, jumping from one holy grail strategy to the next. They buy the expensive courses, they clutter their charts with a million indicators, all because they think success is some kind of external tool they just haven't found yet. But they're looking in completely the wrong place. The key isn't a better strategy, it's a better you.
And this constant search for a shortcut, well, it eventually leads every single trader to the exact same place. It brings them to our second stage, the market's unforgiving mirror. After chasing rainbows for a while and getting nothing but frustrating results, the trader finally comes face to face with a really harsh reality. The market isn't just an ATM. It's a place that shows you exactly who you are, warts and all.
So let's talk about this concept of the trader's mirror. It's powerful. Imagine every time you look at a chart, you're actually looking into a mirror that reflects your rawest, most unfiltered emotions. This mirror doesn't care about your ego. It doesn't care about your good intentions. It just shows you, you. It shows you your greed, your fear, your impatience, all in real time, with real money on the line. There is absolutely nowhere to hide.
And this is where that mirror gets brutally honest, doesn't it? It shows us the flaws we all have. It shows us our own greed, making us hold on to a winning trade way too long, just hoping for a little bit more, only to watch it all come crashing down. It shows us our impulsivity, jumping into a trade out of pure FOMO with zero plan. It shows us our crippling fear of loss, which makes us cut a good trade way too early, or even worse, it paralyzes us so we can't even pull the trigger on a perfect setup. And really, all of this is wrapped up in a fundamental lack of patience and discipline. That simple inability to just sit and wait for the right moment, and then actually follow our own rules when it finally shows up.
This painful confrontation with your own flaws brings us to the most critical stage of the whole journey. We're calling it the great psychological filter. This is the invisible hurdle, the hidden choke point, where the vast majority of aspiring traders just give up and drop out of the race. This is that threshold they just can't seem to cross.
And I need you to really let this sink in. The battle is not against hedge funds or algorithms. The real fight, the one that determines everything, is internal. It's you versus you. It's the impulsive, impatient, I want it now part of your brain fighting against the rational, disciplined part that knows exactly what you're supposed to do. People think they're failing because their strategy sucks, but the reality is they're failing because they keep losing this internal war day in and day out.
And this slide right here, this is the absolute heart of the matter. It perfectly contrasts the two mindsets. The amateur is completely, utterly obsessed with the outcome of every single trade. A win is a huge ego boost. I'm a genius. A loss feels like a personal failure, a direct attack on their identity. But the professional, they're playing a totally different game. They have shifted their entire focus to the process. They know that if they just execute their plan flawlessly, over and over, the results will handle themselves in the long run. A loss isn't failure, it's just a data point. It's the cost of doing business. It has zero emotional weight.
Okay, so if the problem is this massive internal psychological filter, how in the world do you get through it? Well, that brings us to the hardest part of the entire journey, rewiring for emotional discipline. This isn't something that just happens to you. This is active, conscious, difficult work you have to do to build a professional mind. It's a deliberate practice.
So what does this active work actually look like? Well, we can break it down into 4 concrete steps. First, you have to just acknowledge the flaws that Miro is showing you. You can't fix a problem you refuse to admit you have. This means journaling your trades, your emotions, everything, without judgment. Second, you have to make a conscious, deliberate commitment to focus only on your process. Judge your performance based on how well you followed your rules, not on whether you made or lost money. Third, you have to cultivate what I'd call ruthless patience, the power to do absolutely nothing, to wait for your A-plus setup and ignore all the distracting noise. And fourth, you have to actively reframe your losses. Stop saying, "I lost money." Start saying, "That trade was a business expense that provided me with data." It sounds small, but that language shift is a total game changer.
I love this quote because it just cuts through all the noise. See, everyone's looking for that one big win, that aha moment that changes everything. But real, lasting success in this game is not an event. It is not a home run. It is the slow, sometimes agonizingly boring, accumulation of disciplined actions day after day after day. It's the compounding effect of just showing up and sticking to your process, especially on the days you really don't want to.
And if you do this work, if you actually manage to get through that psychological filter, you arrive at the final destination, the professional's mindset. This is what mastery looks like. And it's not just a way of trading, it's a way of being.
The defining characteristic of this mindset is emotional detachment. Now, let's be clear, this doesn't mean you turn into a robot. You still have feelings. It just means your feelings no longer drive the car. You can feel the pull of greed, you can feel the sting of fear, but you don't act on them. You simply observe the market as a stream of neutral information, and you execute your plan with the cool, calm precision of a surgeon. A price move isn't good or bad, it just is.
So what's the big payoff for all this incredibly difficult internal work? It's not just about the money. The ultimate reward is something far more precious. It's a quiet, deep, unshakable confidence. It's the confidence that comes from knowing you have mastered yourself. That is what mental compounding is all about. Just like your brokerage account can compound, your discipline, your patience, and your emotional resilience also compound over time, making you stronger and more capable with every single trade you take. So let's put it all together. What does this mastered mind look like in action? It's someone who has achieved that true emotional detachment. They can execute their plan with almost boring consistency. They see losses not as failures, but as tuition they paid to the market for some really valuable feedback. And maybe most importantly, they have the emotional and mental endurance to just stay in the game long enough for their skills and their account to compound into real, long-term mastery. And so we end on this final, crucial thought. The reason most people quit when they are inches away from success is because they finally come face to face with themselves in the market's mirror, and they just don't like what they see. So they blame the market, they blame their broker, they blame their strategy, they blame anything and everything except the reflection staring back at them. The path to success isn't about finding a better system, it's about mastering that reflection. So the only real question left is, are you ready to master what you see?